Hello, my name is Tolg and I exist, therefore I think too much. I'm gonna read from Fred's Beyond Good and Evil. I left off on point 95, which puts me at point 96. It's not a perfect read through. I am highly opinionated, and I give those opinions. If I stand to be wrong, you are perfectly within your right to correct me if you think there's a correction worth having, or just get into a discussion with me. The one thing that I don't want you to do is be a fucking twat. Which is to your discretion, I guess, because everybody's got a different threshold of what the fuck makes someone a terrible person. Having said that, I cuss when I talk, so those are all of your warnings. If this is not your soup of the day, find a different restaurant. Otherwise, enjoy the soup that you've been given. Point 96. One should part from life as Ulysses parted from Nausicaa, blessing it rather than in love with it. I don't know the story, so there's that. Though I absolutely respect the hell out of that. That is very, what do they call that? Stoic? That's very stoic of this sentiment. If you hold on to life, one of the vague practices that I got into because I don't know why, something to get into, and well, I'm not Christian, so not a whole lot of reason to disbar me, but there was several places I've lived in that have been haunted when I was Christian and when I was not. When I was very, very, very Christian, the basement held all of our inherited furniture from when my grandma died, and the house used to have water heaters, boilers in each room. And when they were taken out, they just left a hole in the wood floor, and the hole was never sealed. So I had a hole going directly down to where the furniture was stored. And at night, I could hear the wood furniture scraping against the cement floor. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna, being highly Christian, I'm gonna move down there. I'm gonna live in the basement. And that way the spirit, is going to be in contact with me praying, and it'll have to go away. Didn't work. But yeah. And then another house I lived in was just chaotic and I guess a bad time, but it made me feel worse for those that died. So in everything, I've just gotten to a point in which I realized that the longer you hold on to the life you once had, the worse you mentally get. It's kind of like losing humanity. The thing that makes you human is your ability to sympathize and empathize and appreciate your emotions. My understanding of not being corporeal is that you lose reason, those chemical compulsions. You exist on a different energetic exchange, which pushes you into a different type of existence. And the more you hold on to humanity, the more you get really, really embittered for it. And so this practice of blessing the life you had rather than falling in love with it, I perfectly stand by, but probably maybe for different reasons. Seeing a lot of people get really, really, really messed up on what they once were. So there's too much about me. Point 97 starts with a question. What a great man? I always see merely the play actor of his own ideal. That's something I'm coming to terms with more recently than I've ever come to terms with it prior. I have a terrible tendency to just take people at their word, because my life has constantly been absurd. I just assume that that's a possibility for everybody else. And I know that lying makes life more difficult to live for the person lying and for everybody else around them. So generally, I just unless it's challenged or proven otherwise, or I can read that it's absolutely a lie. I take people at their word. And especially when there's a large group of people that say exactly this about a person, I am very human in that respect and say, okay, well, people see them as that way, so that they must have had a lot of practice in being that way. Not that I invest my person in it because of other people's judgment, but at the very least, I understand that's how people know this individual. But what I am starting to appreciate more is that the more you accumulate for yourself, the more you put yourself in the position of meeting expectations, the less you will be liked, which then made me really question the people that were massively liked. You have to be enough that people want to invest in you, but not too much that they feel threatened by you. So is a great man honestly great? Or is he just good enough? And for those that are great, will they ever be appreciated as such? Or will they always be perceived as a threat? It's that metaphor or idiom, big fish, small pond. And then you move the big fish to a bigger pond and they realize they're not the biggest fish. I just want to live peacefully, which then puts me in a position of which idiom do I participate in? Am I a big fish in a small pond, or am I a frog in a well? Am I just disliked because this isn't the right environment for me, or am I disliked because I'm making everybody else uncomfortable in their environment? I don't intend to say that there is any greatness there other than to say that I am genuinely confused. And I think most people sell themselves on the notion that they are not good enough, because other people sell themselves on the notion that they are better than. So I think it's just a human nature to project something you want other people to invest in while internalizing that you are not worth investing in yourself. Which then creates this whole atmosphere where everybody feels like they're overcrowded by everybody else's existence. At least, again, in the US. Point 98. When one trains one's conscience, it kisses one while it bites. I just got done reading Marcus. Not done. I just started reading Marcus Aurelius's Meditations again, and it sounds very much in line with that. That it's difficult to train oneself, but in a moment where someone asks you, what are you thinking of? You ought to be able to respond with, I'm thinking of A, or I'm thinking of X, without hesitation and without, feeling shame. Not that you shouldn't feel ashamed of things, but more in line with train yourself to not think of shameful things. So if put to it, you have mastered the ability to control your internal as well as your external, that it does not control you instead. And kisses one while it bites is just a very romantic way of saying it's very difficult to manage that. You both get the benefit of having it happen, but simultaneously are suffering making it happen. It's a difficult thing to actually be in control of yourself. Point 99, the disappointed one speaks. That's in italics. So this is the point, disappointed one speaking now. I listened for the echo, and I heard only praise. I have a horrible tendency to overthink everything. So there is a sentiment held, I don't know. I think it's been challenged and proven, but I could be wrong, among scientists who study space, that they have the ability to hear an echo, and the belief is that it is an echo of the initial Big Bang. So my mind went immediately to that. I listened for the creation of everything. And all I ended up hearing was a description of myself. But in it being disappointment, praise would be what I call kiss ass. Appeasement, not actuation. I listened for the objective truth. I looked for the remnants of the beginning of everything. And all I ended up finding was people that wanted to use me and would tell me anything that they thought I would be complimented by. I could be overthinking that one. Point 100. We all feign to ourselves that we are simpler than we are. We thus relax ourselves away from our fellows. We lose our community because we lie to ourselves about what makes us who we are, and in lying to ourselves, we are doing so for a farce of comfort, an ease of life, provided by settling for the least parts of ourselves. And again, by doing this, we have alienated ourselves from those who would truly fulfill the community we'd belong to. And therein, I guess, we fall into place in society. Point 101. A discerning one might easily regard himself at present as the animalization of God. They might. But then you would have to understand that everything exists in a simpler form in you, where my belief is more along the lines that you exist in a complex form as a part of everything. God is in you. You are not God. Or no, you are in God, but you are not God. And understanding your simplistic version of God in that you are animal and God is everything would put you into the position of ownership. And to own, to conquer is to overcome. I don't think you can overcome everything. But I guess that's a difference on what you understand God to be. And I guess my viewpoint is more in line of a pseudo-pantheistic animism, where I believe that there is a source and everything broke apart in order to understand itself better and grow, evolve. And the animism is that everything holds a part of God, but to different extents due to the different reason it exists, different purpose it exists for. Point 102. Discovering reciprocal love should really disenchant the lover with regard to the beloved. Discovering reciprocity should really make the lover understand reality with regard to whom they love. What? She is modest enough to love even you, or stupid enough, or that sucks. That is so self-hatred coded. You will never understand yourself the way that other people see you, because you are a different tool to yourself than you are a tool to someone else. And that is the most basic version of what I intend to say, but what other people perceive is not your perception based on a totally different string of exchanges they've had in life, experiences they've had in life. What someone falls in love with you, what someone falls in love within you is going to be different from what you fall in love with point blank in yourself or in others. And to question why they love you based on your self-hatred is again a sense of control. I don't understand. I cannot control. Why are you not someone that I have a grasp on in that respect? I understand everything that I don't like about my person that isn't in my control to fix. And why don't you hate me just as much? Why aren't you holding me accountable just as much as I wish to be held accountable? And that also, I guess, in the last thing that I said, points to a lack of growth, ability to grow. You want someone else to do the work for you. Beyond just wanting to be understood or wanting to understand. If you can't fix yourself, can they? How can they love the worst parts of you? And the answer is they can't. Or hopefully the answer is they can't. And if they can't, can you change it? Because I can't. At which point, I really think people need to understand what they want from a relationship, whether that be a romantic inclination or not, what it means to them, how they can grow from it, how to interact with one another. As a relationship is dependent on both parties participating in it. It's not a one-sided thing. And in questioning the other and how they could love the worst of you is already assuming that it was supposed to be a one-sided thing. At which point you deserve to be disenchanted. Beyond deserving to be disenchanted, you should be disenchanted. The premise of you being so romantic, you're blinded to who they are and what they might like in you or what they might dislike in you means that you've objectified them. You don't provide them any understanding for who they are. Are you even in a relationship? Or are you high? Point 103, the danger in happiness. That's in italics. And then this is in quotes. Everything now turns out best for me. I now love every fate. Who would like to be my fate? You become a slut if you get everything you want? That's what point 103 sounds like to me. There is something that Will Smith said recently. More recently than not. That there is rock bottom, but he says that there's like top peak or mountain peak or something like that, where you have reached absolute. You get everything you want. You've attained all that you could attain. And now you're met with an incredible amount of disenchantment. It doesn't have the same appeal. There's no high you get from ascertaining it anymore. You lose desire. And therein you lose goals and you lose drive. And that's, again, being driven by conquest rather than understanding nurture and growth. You're driven by what you can own and acquire and ascertain. You're not driven by subservience. You're not driven by what you can do for others by means of subservience. You're not wanting to invest in others. Self-centered, selfish, stunts your growth, as well as it stunts anybody else. 104. Not their love of humanity, but the impotence of their love prevents the Christians of today burning us. I mean, I'd say amen. I don't think there's anything that I can expound on there. But in an attempt to try at it, because I'm a piece of shit, There is a sentiment that I have long held in disdain that Christianity performs, invests in, that God is love. And it is I'd say clever if I didn't hate it so much. It's an easy tool to use in a congregation driven by relying on a mass of people to participate, without which there would be no church. So the easiest way to pull people in is we can provide you what you feel you are going without. We have organizations that will invest monetarily into you, and we call that tithing, and therein it gives back to us. Or we have love. We have the family that has abandoned you. We have the partner that you can't find in anyone else. God will lead you to what God designs for you, and therein, through our church, through our group, through our Christendom, you will be you will not feel without. And if it gets to a point where you are still without the things they initially promised, either you're at fault for your spiritual work, or what you have is what God wants you to have, at which point you have to seek inwards for why you are not receiving what God has for you. At which point, it's not on us, it's on you. You came to us for the answer to your problems, but your problems weren't actually what you thought they were. At which point you didn't need the church to point that out. They're constantly taking up a lot of responsibility. Christians are constantly taking up a lot of responsibility, and then they easily don't have to be held accountable for the responsibility they took up. Convert and we'll give you medical care, or don't convert and you die. And then they'll, in mission work, provide the medical care and leave, but now expect you to translate your entire life, how centuries have been practiced, over to theirs. And it provides a lot of negative, more than it provides the positive of the medical practices. And it said, convert, we'll give you medical, or convert, or don't convert and die, as we will be the ones to kill you. In modern day, it's just translated to, we will persecute you. And the larger our group gets, because most people feel that they are in need and going without, the less you will feel safe. So I find it rather poetic that that sentence ends in burning us, burning the Christians. The road to heaven is narrow and few will find it. The road to hell is wide and paved with good intentions. Point 105. The Pia Fraus, don't know what that is still more repugnant to the taste, the piety of the free spirit, the pious man of knowledge, than the impia Fraus. Okay. Hence the profound lack of judgment in comparison with the church, the characteristic of the type free spirit as its non-freedom. Well, because I don't understand what the fuck Pia Fraus is, or whatever Impia Fraus is. I don't understand a lick of this. So there's that. I guess what it's getting at is that there is a balance between everything, and you being considered a free spirit, you lack freedom, because then you're unguided. I don't know, I'd really have to define Pia Fraus and Impia Fraus, so that, while I'm discussing all of this, will probably be a text on this screen telling you how the fuck I have concluded on this issue after the fact. So point 106. By means of music, the very passions enjoy themselves. It's interesting that Satan was supposed to be like the lord of music or whatever, directing the music of heavens. To me, music is all-encompassing of the sensory organs. It's, well, maybe not all-encompassing. You can't taste it unless, you got that weird synthesis in your brain. But it's it's encompassing of multiple aspects of sensory, where you not only hear it, but you can feel it. And apparently, if you've been deprived of music for a number of years, you can see it. But in it affecting at least 2 sensory organs, I feel like it has a significant psychological effect on the body. And then if you study, the science and how atoms are affected by the exchange of certain frequencies in hertz, it furthers why music is so effective on an individual, and I would go so far as to say on multiple levels. So what was the point? Very passions enjoy themselves. If you're experiencing both sensory organs, then every other passion would be enhanced by this experience of these other sensory as well. So if you're eating, or if you're drinking, or if you're doing other passionate things, then yeah, putting your body to experiencing multiple things at once is going to be overwhelming, and it will induce chemical reactions that is not necessarily usual to the individual going through it. So there's that. I'm going to end it there, as that puts me at 30 minutes. So sorry if this one came off weird. I'm doing it early in the morning, and I'm actually a night person. There's your explanation of me feeling bad for myself. All right, have a good day. Eat well, drink well, sleep well, and may your wants align with your needs. Bye-bye.